Most people have a plan. Ask anyone on the street what they'd do with $1 million, and they'll tell you instantly. Pay off the house, quit the job, travel the world. It sounds simple. It sounds obvious. But here's what nobody tells you. Spending $1 million in 24 hours might be one of the hardest things a human being could actually do. And most people would fail. Let's start with the morning. You wake up. Your phone shows a balance you've never seen before. $1 million. Cash. Available. And a timer starts. 24 hours. Spend it all, or lose it forever. Your first instinct is real estate. Buy a house. Done, right? Wrong. Real estate closings take 30 to 90 days minimum. You can't close a property deal before lunch. Your second instinct is a car, maybe several. A Lamborghini, a Rolls-Royce, a Ferrari. A dealership can move fast, sure, but most high-end dealers don't carry that inventory on the floor. They order it, they transfer it, they process it. You're already burning daylight, and you haven't spent $1. And here's the rule nobody thinks about. You can't just transfer it to someone else. You can't donate it all to charity in one wire. You can't hand it to a friend. You have to spend it. On things. Real things. By midnight. So now it's 9 a.m. and the panic sets in. This is where psychology takes over, and this is where it gets genuinely interesting. Because researchers who study lottery winners, sudden wealth recipients, and financial windfalls all agree on one thing. The human brain is spectacularly bad at spending large amounts of money quickly. We evolved to conserve, to protect, to hesitate before big decisions. Every instinct you have is wired for scarcity, not abundance. Hand someone $1 million with a deadline, and you're not giving them a gift. You're running a psychological stress test. Studies show that people experiencing sudden wealth frequently freeze. They described feeling paralyzed, overwhelmed, unable to make decisions they'd normally make without thinking. A person who can order dinner for 12 without blinking suddenly can't decide whether to buy a boat. The numbers are too big. The stakes feel too permanent. The brain treats large financial decisions like physical threats. Your cortisol spikes. Your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for rational planning, starts fighting with your amygdala, the part screaming that something is wrong. You sit there, staring, with $1 million and nowhere to put it. By noon, most people would have spent maybe $50,000. Let's say you figure it out. You get moving. You go to a luxury hotel and book every suite for the night. You call a private jet charter. You walk into the most expensive restaurant in the city and buy out every table for dinner. You hit a jewelry store. You hit an electronics store. You call a travel agent and book a round-the-world first-class trip. You're spending. But you're not spending fast enough. Because here's the math nobody does in the fantasy version of this scenario. Spending $1 million in 24 hours means spending $41,666 every single hour. $694 every single minute. $11 every single second. Without stopping. While awake. While making decisions, while dealing with stores that close, transactions that bounce, and daily purchase limits that your bank automatically flags as fraud and freezes your account entirely. And your bank will freeze your account, almost certainly. Most financial institutions have automated fraud detection systems that flag unusual spending patterns within minutes. Spend $200,000 in 3 hours, and your card gets declined. Your account gets locked. You're on hold with customer service,
explaining to someone in a call center that yes, you are trying to buy a helicopter and no, you have not been compromised. Meanwhile, the clock keeps moving. 14 hours left. 11 hours. 8. This is where the experiment stops being fun.
Because the people who actually pull it off, and there have been real documented cases of people attempting this as a challenge, they don't spend it on the things they imagined. They don't buy dream homes or dream cars. They buy art. They buy wine futures. They buy bulk commodities. They wire money into investment vehicles that technically count as spending. They hire a team of assistants at 6 a.m. and delegate the entire operation like a military campaign. The romantic version of this fantasy, the one where you walk into stores and buy everything you ever wanted, doesn't survive contact with reality. Reality has transaction limits. Reality has store hours. Reality has a version of you who spent 40 minutes in a mattress showroom because you couldn't decide between two models that cost $12,000 each while the clock ran down. And then there's the 24-hour mark. Most scenarios say whatever you didn't spend disappears. Gone. Back to zero. And here's the cruelest part of the whole thought experiment. Research on loss aversion shows that humans feel the pain of losing something roughly twice as intensely as the pleasure of gaining it. Which means the moment that clock hits zero and you've failed to spend the last $200,000 sitting in your account, you won't feel like someone who almost won $1 million. You'll feel like someone who lost $200,000. The gain evaporates emotionally. The loss burns. Evolution built us that way. We remember what we failed to protect far longer than what we managed to enjoy. So, would you actually do it? Not the fantasy version where everything works perfectly and every store is open and every transaction clears and you make brilliant, spontaneous decisions under zero pressure. The real version, where it's 3 a.m. and you're desperately trying to buy a vintage watch collection from a dealer in Tokyo over a shaky video call, while your card keeps getting declined and your assistant is asleep, and you have $340,000 left and 4 hours on the clock. That version. The version where the money isn't a gift, it's a test. A test of how well you actually know yourself, what you actually value, and whether you can make decisions at speed when the stakes are the highest they've ever been. Most people say they'd pass that test easily. Almost nobody would. And maybe that's the real answer hiding inside this question. We fantasize about sudden wealth because we believe money would finally let us act on who we really are. But the 24-hour version strips all of that away. You don't get to deliberate. You don't get to plan for months and make careful choices that reflect your best self. You get chaos and pressure and a countdown, and a version of your brain that was never built for this. What you spend the money on in that panic, the first things you reach for, the choices you make at hour 18 when you're exhausted and desperate and the number still isn't zero, those choices might tell you more about yourself than any amount of calm, comfortable reflection ever could. $1 million. 24 hours. The clock is already running. What do you actually do?